up, gamers? Matt Lemke here with another Off the Palette. In this Off the Palette, we will be painting the Orlok Nation figure from Alkemy Far Eye. I've already primed him up and cleaned him. Well, you saw that in our last video of him. I did something I experimenting with a little bit, and I primed him black, and I immediately hit him with a mist of white. And as you can see, he starts off white at the top and gets grayer as he goes down for some more natural shading. At least that's my plan. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started real quick here. I'm going to use necrotic flesh or dead skin, depending on which company's paint you're using, for the base of his skin. I think that's going to come out very lizard-like, and I think he's kind of a, I would say he's clearly lizard slash reptilian. He would probably be a great D&D druid for lizardmen, or excuse me, I got sneeze. Oh, I am back from that sneeze. Or a ranger, not ranger, but a nature type character. I'm sure there's all kinds of them in the game. I'm thinking that I can't get Druid out of my head right now, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start painting them up. See, again, I don't like the Krylon paint. Or maybe it's my paints. Maybe they're just too old. I need to take care of them. Add a little ammonia is what I'm told. I don't know how to do that though. I've never tried. He's clearly going to need another coat now. I was trying to avoid that. But that's actually pretty close to the color on the box. It's actually a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. There's going to be more of a green tint to this dead flesh. So, again, I'm liking the Alkemy figures. There's a good bit of detail on them. There's not so much that you have to struggle to paint them. And when there is a lot of detail, it's usually bold enough and defined enough that it's pretty easy to paint. Hopefully we'll paint this figure in half an hour, 45 minutes. But my paint's giving me some fits, so maybe not. Again, I'm just going to coat him pretty much with all this dead flesh. And then, after I coat him, I'll point some stuff out. Well, actually, I'll point it out as soon as I flip him over again. Yeah, you can see that. That is going to be a real bear for me to paint. So I'm going to try and get some paint in there, not a lot, just enough to give him some color on his back. And I'm going to hit that probably with a brown or some other color, because I want that to be really dark, because obviously that part of his body is in the shadows. Again, right now I'm trying to hit all the low parts that aren't covered by feathers, clothing. Or any things of that nature. And I'm going to paint him up from these colors that I put on here initially. I don't know if I'm going to do a wash on him or not. Paint the underside of his neck here with the dead flesh. Paint that up there like that. Put that in there. Get the side of his head, skull. And then I'm going to flip him over. I'm going to hit the top of his head. All the way down to his beak. But I'm going to fade his beak into dark black or brown, a dark brown. I haven't totally made up my mind yet. Get some more paint back there. Spread this out a little bit better. Get some paint under his arm. I'm not really too concerned whether or not I give him all that color on his underside because of his big cloak. He's obviously got a lot of shade and shadow. I am going to care about this right here though a little bit more. Put a point on my brush a little bit more. Hit a couple of these spots where the paint kind of wanted to run off. Dab some paint in there. And this again. There. And his hands. Don't forget his hands. They kind of blend in with the rest of the model. He's wearing some, that's some kind of mishand here. Now, for the next color, I'm going to hit Beastie Brown, I think. No, I'm going to use Earth. Earth's a good dark brown. I'm going to not paint everything that I was planning on hitting with it originally. I'm just going to kind of hit this back portion. And this paint's terrible today. It's too cold. That's better. I'm going to hit. It's not much better. There. Just going to hit it. Kind of let it run. I don't really care how it sticks. Like, yeah, I'm having a hard time with this because I don't like the primer. I'm never using that primer again. Maybe it's my paint. Although I've never had problems with brown like this. Seems like it's had a good texture. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to... Actually, I kind of like what it's doing, with the exception of being really far back there and doing it. Because what I want to do is I want to attempt to blend the other browns into it, because it's a flat area. And I want the darkness towards the back of the model, or closer to the center of the model. At least that's how I envision it. So, some of these splotchy effects, yeah, they'll be okay, probably. Most likely. Maybe I'll hit a little bit of brown here, even though I'm going to come back to it. Hit it with some black. Maybe paint some more brown there. To show it darkening as it gets closer to it. And same thing up here. Right on his nose. Not a lot, just enough. And gotta get back in there a little bit more. This side's not cooperating that much. So I'm going to have to do more and more layers, that's all. It will eventually cover. Just got to keep brushing it out. And I'm going to go back to the dead flesh real quick. There's a couple spots that could use a little help. For whatever reason, this model pretty much has black feet, probably from walking in all the mud. He has a lot of black on him, so we're going to get the black out real quick. And then we're going to start hitting some of the black spots. And we're going to hit it with we're going to hit the black with a highlight of probably electric blue. I did it on one of the column on Republic Cats. And I'm happy with her. She turned out pretty good. Not totally done with the model yet, but I like the shading tone and the colors of black and electric blue on this model. Basically, I'm not going to try and coat everything with this black. I'm just going to kind of attempt to dry brush. It's going to be a heavy dry brush. I really don't care if, you know, it's all going to be fully covered. I just kind of want a little bit of darkness and more depth to the model. Like this is going to be some black here. That's going to be brown. Back on camera for you. Go up here like this. Dry brush this up. Blacken that up a little bit. I want some of that shading and that highlighting. So I'm just going to kind of leave a good bit of that. And then I'm going to hit, the birds are black. They're like crows or ravens. So those I'm going to actually coat. Try not to hit his hands here because I don't want to repaint them with that dead flesh. Now, I like highlighting my black with blue. You can always highlight it with white and gray, but I think the blue gives it more depth and a more natural look to it. On occasion, I will highlight models that I paint black with gray, but not very often. It depends on the effect I want. I think the effect of the blue is much softer. But I'm still a rookie. So what do I know? I don't know anything. This is really good black. Put that in there. Look at the model, Matt, not the camera. And this is all pretty much a black. I think this model's going to be done pretty quick, actually. at least to get it on the table. I was afraid of the feathers at first, but all these bird feather thingies are getting painted pretty good. Pretty quick, actually. Much quicker than I thought they would be. And when you come back over here to dry brush this is going to dry brush nothing. At least I think so. So it won't be long before we're on to our first highlight for skin, maybe. And it won't be long before we're on to our next color for the brown. Now, I will go ahead and say I've never blended before, so when I get to that part, bear with me. I might swear, I might curse. You know what? I think I will probably hit this with a blue, the electric blue highlight, with a little bit of black in it, and then I will probably hit it with dead white. Just do no washes with it. Well, depending on how heavy my dry brush is. I might have to dry brush or wet wash it again. But I will most likely just do 2 dry brushes on this and call it done. Because this is actually looking pretty easy to dry brush. Right now, at least. You do have to get everything into the nooks and crannies, which is a little bit testy. You don't want to thin your paint too much when you do this, because then you'll get air bubbles, and the air bubbles will pop, and you'll have white spots showing through the primer or black spots showing through the primer. That's the only real caution you have to have with this. But if you do it right and you do it with a wash, you effectively highlighted it with your first step. So you might not have to do any more to it, depending on what you want with your model. And then I'm going to go ahead real quick, and I'm going to just tip this here. Give him that little bit of color. Doesn't have to be anything super special. Dude's looking pretty good in my opinion already. Gotta get some more black to hit here. And helps if you got paint on the brush. Like I said, it helps if you've got paint on the brush. Now I'm going to go back to the dead flesh a little bit. There's a couple spots that still need a little help, like in this part of his rear end. Rinse that off a little bit. And we're going to go to the next color of brown. which is a little bit more. I'm using Parasite Brown mixed with a little bit of earth. And a little bit of water to help it blend. Parasite Brown is almost a rust. So I am having a problem today. I don't want a lot of this color, just a little bit here and there. I do like the color, so I am gonna do like his belt and his sword scabbard in it. I think it's a nice accent to the model. Again, I am not an expert painter, nor do I profess to be. I'm just doing this because I enjoy it, and I figure some other people might enjoy it. And I like to show the fact that I can do it, so you can do it. I'm going to go ahead and do this here too, and then I'm going to hit it with a hammered copper. Get his his gauntlets with this color, and I'm going to hit the hammered copper right over top of that. Not right now, I'm going to let it dry. Spot right there in this. Black. Some more black spots to hit. Now the hardest part probably of the model is hitting his wrist gauntlet here. Hitting the high spot of it without hitting the rest of the model. Which I already did there. Ta-da! Starting to look like a model. You gotta get in there and paint his tongue. I think I'm gonna do that now before I get too carried away with doing the other stuff. Because I want that to be able to dry so I can hit his teeth. And I'm just going to do this. My red's really thin. It's almost a glaze. That's okay. It'll lend to other things later. If I put it in there now and I just dry brush like a yellow over top of it, over top of his teeth, it's going to look like he was just beaten. I hope. That's the effect I'm going for with this model right now. Love the taste of paint. So, take a little bit of my dead white. And I'm going to start my dry brush on the flesh. I'm going to use 3 drops of dead flesh, or of dead white to dead flesh, 1 drop. See how that turns out. I might want to change that and darken it up a little bit. Again, I'm no expert painter, but I kind of think the most important thing you can learn to do as a painter of models is learn how to mix your paints. Gonna dry brush them real quick. This dry brush is a little wet, but that's okay. It'll help lend to the blending effects. Again, I'm trying to get this model on the table as fast as I can. Sorry about that. And there a little bit more. I don't want a lot. My phone's stuck. Again, just back to just doing some dry brushing. Get his neck a little bit. That's pretty high up there. Maybe a little bit of his beak. Not a lot. And his head. That's pretty high up there. Hit that pretty hard actually. A little bit more here. Maybe a little bit more paint. That was probably a little too much, but I'm going to give him a, I think I'm going to give him a green ink wash when this is done on his skin. That should make those colors pop pretty good. And his hand in here, I'm going to hit it too because he's holding things up to the air. Now I'm going to do the electric blue dry brush. And actually, I'm going to grab a bigger brush for that, and I'm going to grab a flatter one. I'm going to grab this brush. That's pretty big, but that's a lot of space. So I'm going to take 2 drops of electric blue and maybe a half a drop of black. Because black is very powerful. And we're going to see what that does for me right off the bat, and then we're going to go with it. We're not giving it a whirl yet. Just made a big boo-boo there. Oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was. Okay. Now we're going to hit the dry brush. I'll start on the bottom since the top part that I missed is drying. Definitely going to have to come back and give it a wash, but that's life. Some of these spots will dry nice, some of these won't dry as nice. Give it a black wash. Probably after I hit it with some dead white. Some dead white would be good color on this, I think. Now in the front, I'm actually going to go back to the other brush and dry brush it with it because there's just so little to do. Get these guys over here. It's drying up pretty nice. I should probably hit that with a wash. I will have to hit that with a wash, I'm not going to lie about it. I have to. There's not much choice in the matter. And then I got to get some dry brush down in here, some dry brushes. And some dry brushes down in here. And I might as well hit this a little bit. Just enough to give it some color. Hit this guy's feather here. Don't want to do too much. Same thing with this one. And his foot. Because his foot's black in the box. Don't know why. And then I'm going to take that brown that I had for the cloak, the parasite brown, and I'm going to add a few drops of elf skin tone to it from Vallejo, because I think that'll probably be the right color, the color that I want on the end of the cloak. Because if you take the time to look at the box here, he gets dark and fades out. There's not a lot. There's kind of a rusty color in there. There's a lot of dark there, pretty light there. So I'm gonna go with my gut and mix those together. Let's see what I come up with. That's not terrible, but I'm going to add a little bit of dead white to it. And a drop of water. And see what happens. I think that's about right. It's almost a cream, kind of like a melted caramel, what I want to call it. Clean my brush up a little bit before I paint. There's 17 colors in it. Now the important part. And then if I understand blending, I have to come back over this with the dark color. I don't get that. I'm actually going to have to come back over this again. Can I see? Yep, I can see that. It's good. And I think for the most part, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. I've never blended before, so I'm going to have to, I got to let this dry up a little bit. I don't think I can, I think my paint was a little too thick. Maybe I can come down here and just hit it with a wet brush real quick. Blend it in a little bit more. And on this side, I already know for a fact I'm gonna have to come back over it with some brown. I'll hit charred brown right in the back. And I'll do it. Actually, I'll go backwards. I'll go the parasite brown thinned out real quick. Almost a wash, not quite. I mean, a little bit more than a wash probably. Let's see if I can do this. I've never tried it. I've seen it done a few times. And my paint's too wet. So I'm just going to have to let that dry. Put that on there, see what it looks like. Definitely going to have to hit it with something else. Wash my brush up a little bit. Try and get some more blue, because I don't like this. There's not enough color in here. There. There. Let's take a look at the back of the cloak. It gets a little bit too blue. And look at all that bled out. So let's hit those real quick with black so I can fix this mess that I made. And then I think I have to let him dry a little bit. I don't think he can really do much of anything else. I'm pretty happy with his flesh. A couple spots that I'm still not terribly happy with, but what the heck? Oh, there was a little bit of black pigment on my brush. That's what happened there. Couple spots here because my paint didn't want to stick to this primer for whatever reason. So go back through and I'll touch those spots up right now before I get ready to do any of my washes. Well, actually, the next step is I'm going to do a dry brush with dead white on the back. And I'm going to switch brushes again. I don't usually use more than one brush when I paint, but I'm going to find myself a flat brush. This is actually an angled flat brush, and I'm going to attempt to use it because I've never done that before for a dry brush, and there's a lot of space back there to use. Clean up my big brush that I used a little bit so it doesn't harden on me real quick. And grab the dead white. Clean off my brush quite a bit. I want this to be pretty dry because I barely want to touch this bottle when I dry brush it. And I should probably only hit the highest spots. Basically, I'm letting the brush fall. And while I'm at it, I'm going to grab a little bit more. I'm going to hit his head very carefully. And hit it on this side. And then I'm going to hit these spots too. Just the high spots. It's a big brush for this, so be careful if you use a big brush. Basically, all you want to do is put some of that pigment on there wherever the brush hits the high spots, just rub it back and forth. The drier the brush, the better is what I'm told, and I believe it to be true. And his neck, because that's a good high spot. Don't necessarily need a lot. In his hand here. And his little bitty, yeah, just like that. That's not so bad for the amount of time we've spent on him. He's definitely tabletop quality. There's still a couple more things I want to do to him. One of those is I wanted to use some hammered copper on his little gauntlets. So I'm going to pull that out real quick, and I'm going to use it. I think hammered copper on this model is going to be pretty slick, actually. I think it's going to be a really nice complement to a lot of the colors that are already on it. There's red in the copper and kind of a brownish base. So don't really need to worry about getting the ring that much, but it looks better if you do. And then get this side over here. A little bit more. I like hammered copper. I've used it with a lot of models. I've found that if you put a red base underneath it, it's really pretty phenomenal looking. It's also really awesome if you hit it with a red wash. Look at the back. I think that looks pretty good. A little bit of a wash there, black wash maybe. I still need to hit his teeth. And I didn't hit this feather with the dry brush. So very lightly now I'm going to hit it. And he's wearing a little chain right here. I'm going to try and hit that with the hammered copper without going crazy. Boom. And he's got a ring or two on his leg. He's got one on this side. Flip them over. Grab the base. My hands will pretty much take the paint right off them right now. Okay. I'm going to use some sand yellow here real quick. Try and hit his teeth. Just so you know, people, Vallejo paints taste awful. They really do. I just tried reshaping my brush with my mouth, and there was a little too much paint on it. So now this is really tough because they're hard to see. Basically, I'm just going to dry brush them. Dry brush them. Flip it over. And dry brush the other side. And dry brush the other side. I'm still not happy with all his feathers, so I'm going to try and do a little bit more dry brushing on them. I didn't want to hit these in here, but they need a little more color. Same thing here. Just hit it at the top. And I'll hit these wings, his beak, his wing. Now I'm going to go back to the Parasite Brown and try and put a little bit of a layer in there because I think that's blended a little too much. It looks It almost looks leathery, but it's not really the effect I was going for. So I'm just going to gently do this. I'm going to come back to this side. Hit it at the bottom. Just like that. And then I'm going to add some water to that charred brown I had before. And I'm going to try and hit it. I'm sorry, I said charred brown. I meant beastie brown. I'm going to try and hit it in the back right quick and blend all this together. And I think I'm going to see that line, so I need to take some of my flesh brown mix and hit it right up front too. Kind of like a little wash here. And blend that in a little bit. Add a little bit of water to it, because it's not blending quite right. I don't want to see that line. So I'm just going to go like this. Dab my brush on it. Both paints are still a little wet. Let them run together a little bit. I want it to look natural. I don't want a line down the middle of this figure. I've never done this before, so I'm kind of excited to see what happens here. And gosh, next I think I need a wash. Well, I'm going to get a black wash going, because I think it's needed. I'm going to do a black wash on his head. It's a little too... Pull this off a little bit more. Now, if you get too much wash on your brush or too much color, you can always use a paper towel to get it out. Now, I like to wash a lot of times with ink, but I'm out of black ink, so I'm using black paint. Actually, I should use this big brush. I'm going to grab a paper towel. No, I'm going to grab another brush. Once again, I did it. And with the wash, it's too light. Oh, I gotta paint his eyes yet too. Put a wash here. And I'm gonna grab camouflage green, and I'm gonna make another wash. This wash is for his skin, and I really have to be careful with this because I can totally ruin the model. But I think it might be the right color. Might be too much color, actually. That's kind of what I wanted. When it dries, you should be okay, I hope. If not, I have to start over. Well, I can just put another dry brush of white on, which I'm going to have to. It looks like it's a little too green. But you can lighten it up a little bit with the white. Another dry brush of dead white, or wonders actually. And then if you really need to. I think he looks good. And dry brushing is not really anything extraordinary. It's really just another form of blending. I almost got that. Can you see? That's what I was trying to avoid, that line there. So we're going to go back. And we're going to try and hit that again right now. Maybe I need it to be a little bit thinner. Try to miss it. What the heck? That was bad. I dropped my brush in the white paint and didn't notice it. So, do this. Get some clean water. Smudge it a little bit. See how that looks when it's dry. Take a look at the back side, it's still drying. I'm pretty happy with the head, the tongue, teeth. Get me some more sand yellow for his eyes, actually. I think yellow eyes on this guy is the way to go. Now, I'm wrong. He should have green eyes. We're going to give him some fluorescent green eyes. This is probably the hardest part of painting this model. You can always brace the model on the table. Oh, I just brushed my bird. I think the green eye looks pretty good. Except now I need black paint. Which I turned it into a wash, so. A little bit of a bummer there. Put this back here. Grab some of this black paint. Fix my total mess up. Well, maybe I can fix these mess ups. I'll just have to come back and dry brush them. Wow, he looks good. I'm almost impressed with this model. Almost. Do another try and attempt to blend this back in here a little bit better. That's about what I want. I want translucency. That's really what I'm looking for, I think. And we'll see how that does. Maybe I just ruined it by putting so much of it on. I don't know. We'll find out. Only one way to tell. And that's wait. Model is definitely the tabletop quality already. Clearly has 3 colors on it. I would be happy to put this model on the table pretty much the way it is, just to play a game. I would not enter it into a competition. I would be happy with this for a speed painting model because I believe I've been painting for about 40 minutes. If this was a speed painting competition, I'd be doing okay. I think. Depending on who my competition is. Around here, there's not, I don't have to worry about Jen Haley or any of those people showing up to paint models. Need some more yellow. Let's try this again to hit his teeth, because when I did the wash, it pretty much took the yellow off. As a result, I need more red, but that's okay. The red is almost a glaze. So I'll go ahead and do that right now, too. Be done with it. I only want a little bit on his tongue here. And that's going to run all over the place, so we're okay with that. It's not so bad. A little bit more browning effect over here. A little bit of the parasite, I think. Maybe some parasite in here. To make a hodgepodgey, blendy, cloaky, clothy, natural look. Well, there you have it, folks. Gamers, people interested in painting. I am not the world's greatest painter, but I think after I dip this guy in varnish, he's going to look pretty good. He's got probably about 6, 7 colors on him. And if the blend comes out right when it's fully dry, he'll probably have 10 or 15 shades just on that portion of the cloak. Because of the dry brush and the wash, he'll have 10 or 15 shades on the back. He's got nice green eyes. I'm happy with him. Put him on the table. A couple of days, we'll be showing you some demos. You'll see some better pictures of them, hopefully. We're going to start a gallery with all our painted figures that have been donated to us by companies that want us to do stuff for them, or by companies that we have chosen to support because we just like their games. We haven't played Alchemy yet, but we've read the rules and we like what we've read. So hopefully tomorrow or Thursday, the demo will be up in full swing. Again, this is Matt Lemke with an episode of Off the Palette. I painted the Orlok Nation figure Far Eye, character for the game in Alchemy. We have to thank Studio 38 for contacting us and saying, hey, we are interested in working with you, because they've been great so far, and I believe they're going to be great in the future. So if you guys have any questions, you can always visit studio38.com. And if I'm wrong about that address, shoot me, and then ask questions later. I do a lot of things from memory, and I'm dyslexic. So, have at it. Again, thank you.